So did it work or not?
No, but we are on the
Yeah,
camera.
Yeah.
So it's all.
Yeah, and then have like it's a good time of year.
Is he from this firm?
Tío, vamos a tener que comprar una campanita. Vamos a traer una campanita. Okay, so let's go. So welcome again to Washington Arbitration Week, and this will be our actually fourth panel of the day. My name is Jose Antonio Rivas. I am the co-founder together with Ian Laird. The firm is called Strategy LLP. We do investor state arbitration, international commercial arbitration, and public international law here in DC. And Ian Laird from Carl & Mooring and I began this experiment during the COVID years 4 years ago, in a way taking advantage that there was no way other than communicating by Zoom. And luckily, everyone bought into it. And we have now had the Washington Arbitration Week for 4 years. This is the fourth edition. And this is in great part because we have an incredibly active and vibrant international arbitration community here in DC. And one person was asking me, so is this only for Washington, DC, or is this for more than Washington, DC? And from the inception, we defined it as Washington arbitration community and its related international arbitration community. Why? Because several of you might not be living in the DC area or in Virginia or in Maryland, like many of us, but you might be coming to Washington, DC every certain number of months to act as arbitrators at ICSID or as counsel or as experts in damages. And you're clearly part of the community. So with that, I would like to introduce our moderators. And on this panel, our moderator actually, on this panel, we are taking full advantage of AI and technology. We have, among others, Dimitri FC, and who I happen to have been a colleague of in our earlier life at Arnold & Porter. And technology also allows us to have Luis Martinez, who was going to be here, but I understand that he might be under the weather. So Luis, thank you for still connecting, and we're going as far as Asia. Elizabeth, great to have you here. So just a few words about Dimitri, who is our moderator. After being 20 years serving primarily as International Arbitration Counsel, especially for sovereign states and also for private clients, in 2022 he became a full-time arbitrator, and he has done arbitrations as arbitrator under the LCIA rules, ICC rules, the Swedish Chamber of Commerce rules, and many others on various sectors, including energy, joint ventures, technology, and infrastructure. He has defended a number of states. I won't read the list, but part of the reason why Dimitri is our moderator in this panel is because he's also an entrepreneur in technology. Before doing arbitration, he used to be also in IT, and after doing arbitration and while doing arbitration, he came back to IT, and he founded a venture which is called RBCT, which is a very interesting and useful network, and sort of as the name says, sort of technology city where we can follow several events in arbitration. There are forums, etc. And thankfully, Dimitri has been and RBCT have been staunch supporters of Washington Arbitration Week, also of World Arbitration Update. And before giving the floor to Dimitri and introducing the other panelists, I would like to say how committed we are at Washington Arbitration Week, and also the World Arbitration Update, its sister event that happens in May, with IT and arbitration and technology matters so much that you might have noticed that every panel here is recorded. And why is that? Part of it is because we have a strong belief in education and in not leaving these panels as ephemeral passé. We would like people to learn. There's no registration fee, and what we're trying to build is a video library that anybody would have access to in the future, and that's as far as we go. And in addition to that, I would like to invite you to go into our website and look into the videos that have a special tool, which is a searchable video tool where you can actually search the video synchronized with the transcripts by an AI application that one of our partners have actually built with us, which is called Voicica. So you watch the video, and at the same time you see the transcript, and you can put, for instance, Catalina, yeah, and Catalina will appear where Catalina spoke, or you can actually look into ICSID, and ICSID will appear where ICSID was mentioned. So it is a research tool, just as you can use PDF, etc. It's AI based, and with that, I would like to give the floor to Dimitri. Thank you, Dimitri. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jose Antonio. As Jose Antonio said, we go way back. I hear a little bit of feedback on the microphones, so maybe if the microphones in the room could be muted for the time being. Since we have a hybrid panel, the technology issues are always a bit tricky to navigate, but hopefully we will manage, and I have full confidence in everyone that we will have a terrific panel, although it is, I have to say, my first time moderating a hybrid panel where I'm not actually in the room. So it may be a bit difficult for me to see if there are questions from the audience, from the live audience, although of course I can see the questions in the chat in the Q&A. So with that, just a very brief introduction to the panelists for this session, and I'll present them in order in which they will be speaking. we have Catalina Husband, who is now with Greenberg Traurig in DC, but previously was a senior associate at Clarencia, a leading law firm in Chile. Kelby Balena, who is right there at Allen and Overy. He's arbitration paralegal to the stars, so we go way back. He's also a former colleague of mine, and also happens to be a member of our advisory board at Arbitration City. Lizzie Charm is a foreign lawyer with Tanner DeWitt in Hong Kong and is involved with a number of very important initiatives in the arbitration community. And she and I have actually been working together very closely on the drafting committee of the Silicon Valley Mediation Arbitration Center rules on the use of AI, or guidelines on the use of AI in international arbitration. The comment period for which expires in just a couple of weeks. So this is my plug to go and take a look at the guidelines and provide any feedback if you're interested. And last but not least, we have Luis Martinez, who is the vice president of the AAA's International Center for Dispute Resolution, ICDR, and has been there, I believe, since 1996. So he has witnessed enormous change during his career and hopefully can give us some perspective on this latest wave of technology from grounded institutional perspective. So as Jose Antonio alluded to, the title of this panel is Gadgets in International Disputes, International Arbitration. The theme of this year, as in many other conferences, is AI. So we are going to focus today on AI-related tools and technologies and how they can actually be useful and are useful to us in our daily productive lives. So first I turn to Catalina, who is going to tell us a little bit about CaseText and some of the new features and functionalities that platform has. So Catalina, over to you.
Thank you, Dimitri. So I'm going to share with you my experience at GT with different AI tools and how they can be useful for arbitration practitioners. There are many different tools that have been tested at GT, but the two that are most notable for me are, first, a tool we have named Chat at GT, that is basically a more private version of ChatGPT 4. So it's an AI tool, but it's not a specific legal tool. It's not specifically designed for lawyers. So it is used sometimes by the HR department for marketing purposes. But for me, it has been also useful, of course, not to do legal research, but it can help a lot to save time at organizing ideas, at summarizing documents, large documents, also for translations. In our practice, with the team I work, we do international investment arbitration, mostly in Latin America. So we have many Spanish-speaking clients, and sometimes they want to review a document that was written in English by an expert, for example, but they want a Spanish version. So with this tool, we can have very quickly a better translation and save a lot of time. Of course, we still need to check the accuracy of the translation, but the results are better than the traditional tools for automated translations. The skills of this tool are very similar. I think it's the same technology of ChatGPT 4, but the great advantage of having a local version for GT is the privacy, because all the information you enter into the platform or the documents you upload go to a local cloud of GT. So our client's data is more protected. But still, of course, we need our client's consent to use this tool for their cases, and especially if we are going to use confidential information, we also need the approval for that specific information to be uploaded. So I think even though this is not a specifically legal tool, it can be helpful to translations, summarizing documents. And the other that is designed for lawyers is CaseText. This tool has been in the market for a long time, but it has been changing with the new technologies. And now CaseText is totally AI powered. And there is a new skill that will be released this week, and the name is co-counsel. I want to mention that briefly at the end. But what we have now is first, for legal research with a reliable database, and the technology that you can find in CaseText that I find very useful is that the searches can be run by prompts instead of keywords. So you can find cases that searching by key terms you wouldn't have found probably, or it would have taken a lot more time to find. And the search is run by concepts instead of terms. So it's more efficient. And there is also a tool in CaseText named Cara, where you can work with documents. So you can upload a brief or a memo, and the platform scans the document, identifies the different legal issues and the different cases cited in the brief. And it also gives you a list of cases related to the cases cited in the brief. For example, if you have a brief written by your counterparty, you can check there if the cases that party cited are still good law or not. This, of course, is for litigation, but and the system can also suggest cases that the other party might have forgotten or intentionally left out, and cases that can help to build your own arguments. So this is very helpful and saves a lot of time. Of course, it doesn't replace all the thinking process and the strategy that requires human intelligence, but it's helpful. It's a very helpful tool. And the other feature in CaseText was Compose, but that is not no longer available because it will be replaced by co-counsel. In Compose was basically a drafting tool, but as a ChatGPT can be, but for legal purposes. So it was connected, the drafting skills were connected to the legal research database. So you could have there basically an outline that is compliant with all the requirements for the specific type of brief you want to draft. So this is in CaseText, because the database is for American law, it's for litigation, of course, but the technology is super useful. It helps to save a lot of time, and it's also accurate. The results are good, are reliable. So I think it's just a matter of time to have the same tools available for arbitration. And regarding co-counsel, this tool will be released at the end of this week, I think. And at GT, we had a trial, and the feedback about the tool was very positive. the results are good, they don't replace the work of the lawyer, and but of course help as a good starting point. And with co-counsel, we will have all of these skills that I mentioned before from CaseText, but also other specific skills like preparing a first outline for a cross-examination, where you can upload past reports by the same expert you wanna interrogate, and the system will give you will point out contradictions on the past reports, and that of course is a lot faster than reading all the reports and pointing out by ourselves. And also for document analysis too. So when we are drafting a brief and we want to cite for, we remember, oh, this witness mentioned something, but where? So instead of wasting a lot of time searching document by document, you can just upload the case record and search by prompts, by concepts and not keywords. So if you don't remember the specific words used by the witness, you still can find quickly. And even more, you can also upload documents and ask questions to the system. So for example, if you, after document production, you want to make sure you didn't miss anything, you can upload all the documents and run key questions, enter key questions to the system, and you can have like a confirmation that everything has been pointed out. That's it.
Thank you very much, Catalina. It was fascinating, and you mentioned quite a few aspects which are salient features of large language models and the things that they can do. Of course, summarization, they're quite good at question answering over a particular set of documents, and translations, often on par with professional translation software. So that's really great to hear about it being used. I also know that CaseText was recently acquired by Thomson Reuters, and which of course own Westlaw. So I'm sure we will see more integrations with that in the future. And I recently was at a internal presentation at LexisNexis, and I saw a lot of the tools that they were going to be rolling out, which also seem very impressive, AI-powered tools. So I'm sure we will be seeing in the coming weeks even a lot of these things coming to the market, which are much more targeted towards professionals rather than something like ChatGPT, which is not necessarily confidential or targeted at a particular audience. So does anyone on the panel wish to comment on this or have anything to say? If not, then in the interest of time, let me turn to Kelby. And I know that Kelby's been a pioneer in testing a lot of different tools and technologies for as long as I've known him, which is a very long time. So Kelby, I'll give it over to you to give us a little bit of a presentation and a demo.
Well, it's great to see so many people here today. I'm just going to time myself and make sure I don't go over the 10-minute limit. But one of the things that I embraced in my career as a paralegal, as a specialist, is technology. And technology can be your friend, but it can also be an enemy because it does what you tell it to do, which means that if you don't know what you wanted it to do, it doesn't do what you want it to do. So with AI, I think there's been a misconception of that it's this user-friendly, you can just chat and it'll spit out what you want. It needs to understand what you mean. And by that, here, I just wanted to put out some examples because I think sometimes it helps to see the examples. in discovering and trying to do presentations on AI, I've been doing presentations on International Arbitration 101 for people who don't understand arbitration. And I thought, oh, well, wouldn't it be great to do a presentation that has a little bit more AI embedded into it? So one of the things I thought is like, well, what is Adobe Firefly, which basically just creates an image out of what you tell it? What is it going to spit out? And I start finding out that there's sort of an experience of understanding of you're going back and forth. So the first time I put in international arbitration attorneys, well, what's the most common feature of an international arbitration attorney? Is this one. So then I tried to sort of gear it up, change the wording a little bit. And well, it still kind of gave me domestic arbitration, which it wasn't what I was looking for. So, okay, well, let me change the wording around again. Attorneys who work in international arbitration. Well, then this one was really weird. I guess justice is blind on both sides. And then I went to another one. Okay, well, what about attorneys that represent international clients in international arbitration? And this one was kind of weird. I got some of these sort of more kind of robotic, mystical sort of images of what arbitration must be, because it's so secretive, it's confidential, whatever it was. And so then I thought, okay, well, if I vary it up a little bit, what if I make them look happy? And then I got what I sort of wanted in my presentation, but it took me a while to get those images. I had to sort of understand the language it was speaking, and it trying to understand what I wanted from it. And so I thought, okay, well, what if I try to use this now that it kind of knows what I'm talking about? Let's try to educate the platform a little bit more. What about if I'm doing, I was trying to explain commercial arbitration at some point. So examples of a French investor doing business in Canada. And it seemed to understand a little bit more now that what I was looking for brought out those images. It sort of blended the French investor and doing business in Canada. And then I went into, okay, well, this should be a simple one because there's a lot of public information out there. A Texas oil company investing in Venezuela. It did sort of create this image of, having a pinpoint in Venezuela and having a Texas oil drill sort of person sort of in the background. But it was impressive of what it could actually do, that it's creating these brand new images that don't exist. It's creating it from what I'm telling it. So as I'm feeding information, it's learning from me as much as I'm learning from it. And here's another one, like arbitration, and the AI isn't just in one platform. Like Justmundi is doing a beta test. I've been lucky enough to beta test for them, but they were doing this sort of platform, and I thought, okay, well, let me take a look at what this might look like here. So I decided to input some kind of LCI case. And when turning up the case here, I was looking for the actual final award. So I wanted to see, what is Justmundi doing with AI? And then I saw, well, it doesn't look like they're doing anything here, but also the award isn't public. So let's look at a different case judgment. So by generating the AI, what it's actually doing is summarizing the judgment. And I thought this is a useful tool. I'm curious how good this is. So I call up one of my partners who I worked on a case on Bridgestone versus Panama. So I thought, okay, well, let me see what it does there. So bring in Bridgestone versus Panama to see what I might get on this case. Again, looking for the actual award. Go ahead and do your magic. And I was impressed how quick this was. So I go ahead and just copy paste that. I send it to the partner, and I'm like, "What did you think? What's the result here?" And one of the things she said to me was that it was funny that it just mentioned the jurisdictional aspect of this, because the award did in fact go into merits, and they classified a trademark case, which was about tires, as a rubber and plastics products case. So I thought that's like, well, whereas the AI is like kind of there, but not really there. So it's not one of those cases where you're going to really depend on it. So, okay, great. Just when you're going into something, I see where the AI could be useful. Where else could this actually apply? Where, what can it do? Disco is actually a couple months ago released their discovery platform where you could do the same thing. If you got a lot of documents in discovery in a platform, you could use something called Celia, which is a ChatGPT, basically a bot in the program. And for the Enron case, here I am asking what happened in California. What is this case about? So here it is giving me sort of a summary. Not only that, it's actually giving me documents that might be relevant. And now that it's sort of started following this chain, I can ask it something else. Did Enron do business in California? To see exactly what it is. And again, as the previous panel was actually talking about how AI can be used for discovery, this could be a second hand in discovery, or it could just be maybe a third check, or maybe help you locate that document that perhaps you didn't know was there. Because here I can go ahead and filter out these documents to see, like, is there any document that actually proves this point? And in fact, there is. So then moving forward, that's discovery. Well, what about case management, which is a little bit different? You have these millions of documents in one platform, discovery. But in case management, you're sort of isolating the few hundred that are important so that you can build the story before you write. So Evercon is one of those that they haven't even released this yet, but I also beta test for them and trying to see what exactly they are doing in their platform. And what they showed is a similar product with ChatGPT or sort of a bot where you have those documents in there and you can go ahead and individually summarize your exhibits. And you could do it in a very short, brief little section. You can also just make it more comprehensive. So the question would be, how much time would this save? Is this even useful? I'm actually glad that they added a revised feature here, because if you saw this and you actually wanted to use it, but you want to maybe modify it in the future, you have that ability to do so. So that's great information to know, like that this is the kind of tools and AI that vendors or legal industry is using AI. And it's not just Disco. I mean, there's lots of them. I don't have enough time to talk about it, but a ClearBrief can actually help you write a brief. You write it out, it'll find the exhibits for you. You were talking about CaseText. There's like Harvey AI that A&O, Alan Overy actually uses to help with research and writing, Gabo with forms, Relativity, Opus. There's so many because there is some kind of use in the technology, but the thing that I would stress out is that it does take time to actually learn and to figure out, how do I use this? Where do I use it? I don't think there is a one-stop shop for all AI, because it can grab a picture, it can summarize a document, and even Zoom right now, as people are following on Zoom, you can click on that AI button and you can start getting the notes of this meeting, get a summary of what was discussed, so that you don't have to sit through hopefully you do sit through the whole thing, but it could be useful. And these are certain tools. The problem though ends up being, like, if you don't use it, if you don't learn with it, you don't find out where it went wrong, what its limitations are, and how it can be tweaked. Because as we've known, there's been a 3 or 4, a ChatGPT 5 now that's out there, and it keeps evolving and changing, because what we want isn't always what we want. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelby. It's very fascinating, and it seems it's hard to find a platform these days that is not introducing AI features. And of course, it's hard to find the time to experiment and explore all of them, but there are a lot of common patterns. And as you can see, the summarization features, the question answer features, the uploading PDFs, those kinds of features. So as a little plug, we will be releasing also on Arbitration City an AI playground where where you can go and try out some of these tools that are now becoming popular if you haven't had a chance to do so in a confidential setting. So I'll turn the word over now to Lizzie, who is going to tell us about some of the other uses of AI tools, also especially in non-billable work that we all do and have to do as part of our work.
Thank you very much, Dimitri, and hello everybody from Hong Kong. So what I plan to do today in a couple of minutes is to run through 3 points. The first is the mindset I encourage you to have when you're using AI. The second is to focus on ChatGPT particularly, and I think that's important because it's one of those tools which you can have access to as an individual. You don't have to go through a firm, for example. And then 3, to give you some practical use cases that I have used it for. So turning first to the mindset for AI. So I really think about using AI to enhance my productivity or as an assistant, which allows me to be more creative and to focus on the substance of my work. I'm quite inspired by Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, much of which is based on delegating work that you don't have to do. So I think it's important, as Calby mentioned, that you need to understand the limitations of AI tools and what's appropriate and what's not. So, there is some hallucination, for example, or Catalina talked about client confidentiality. And Dimitri also mentioned at the beginning, the Silicon Valley arbitration and mediation guidelines on using AI in international arbitration. So as lawyers, it's important to recognize the importance of safe and responsible use of AI. So really using AI, I think, is not really any different to you making most of the productivity tools that already exist. I know for my part that I use Google Drive to save a lot of my documents. I use Google Docs and spreadsheets to collaborate with my family and with friends when I'm collaborating on a project. Or I recently created a Google spreadsheet for Hong Kong arbitration, which that anybody could use, and we had all the informal and formal events in one place. Google Calendar, organizing events using Zoom, Google Meets, Tencent Video, Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, communication tools like WhatsApp and WeChat. I use Todoist for my to-do list, use toggle.com to manage my time. So all of these, like what I think about for ChatGPT is they're really an extension of all of these productivity tools that already exist. So that's the mindset part. So now the second part is looking at ChatGPT in particular, and I speak from my perspective as someone who subscribes individually to ChatGPT. And again, I think it's one more tool to help you be more productive and to manage your time, give you more bandwidth to focus on the things that matter, like spending time with your family or whatever you like to spend your time on. Now, of course, ChatGPT is not the only chatbot. It just happens to be the one that I'm particularly familiar with. Of course, you've seen the Q&A function that Calby just demonstrated and how powerful that is already. I think it's really important to be on top of the technology. So you are aware of the new tools as they developments for the new tools. So for example, when I first started playing with ChatGPT, it didn't have access to the internet. Now it does. Before I couldn't upload a PDF, but then I could via a plugin, and now you can just load documents via ChatGPT itself. And now you can even create your own chatbots, which I've been doing, and it's been really useful for writing papers. For example, if I load a bunch of documents to a universe, or I use it to prepare as an arbitrator for a fictional moot. As Calby says, though, there's no one-stop shop, so it does take some time to learn. And also, as Calby said, you like to get the most of these chatbots, you need to know what you need. And so the better prompts you can put into the chatbot, the better your outcome is going to be. And there are even chatbots that will help you to refine your prompts. And then to my third point, which is what are some practical use cases? What's something that you could do today, for example? I have a couple of suggestions. One is ChatGPT can be really helpful for helping you to approach a task, especially if it's a new area of law or a new area of practice. So without breaching client confidentiality, you can describe a situation in very general terms to ChatGPT and say, what are some of the things that I should look out for? So one example would be you've been asked to review these contracts in the context of a specific situation. You can ask ChatGPT to help you think about what you need to look out for, and that I found that very helpful. The second is legal research. So we've seen what I think CaseText and Co-Counsel and Usmundi can do. And as Dimitri mentioned, ChatGPT is not focused necessarily on the law, so it can be quite limited, a little bit limited for legal research, especially if you can't use it to access paywalled information. But what I found it really helpful for is that, if you have your materials, you have your cases, etc., what's really helpful is being able to upload all your legal research, commentaries, etc., and you can use the chatbot to help you to identify, say, connections between findings in a case and, recent developments, for example. And then 3, you can also use ChatGPT to help you solve problems. So, for example, it can help you to interpret a graph in an image, for example. 4, it's really helpful for ideation. I find it's kind of like having a colleague that you can just chat to. I like to ask for a counter argument. You can also use prompts like the 6 thinking hats to make sure that you're getting ideas from different perspectives and really having a conversation with the chatbot. And then 5, writing. This is one of the fastest things that I found ChatGPT to be useful for. So, for example, if you've just taken some raw notes for something, you can use ChatGPT to turn it into like comprehensible bullet points. Or you can, when you're writing an article, you can write a pretty detailed outline and then ask ChatGPT to develop it into and to draft the article for you. Typically, I'll do that in sections rather than the whole thing. It's an iterative process. I like it because you can talk to ChatGPT and say, oh, okay, I want you to emphasize more of this point or that point. And what I find really helpful as well is to get feedback from ChatGPT. Like if I don't want it to actually write anything for me, but I want it to tell me what it thinks about my writing in a particular paragraph or section, it will give me feedback. Or I can ask it for feedback. So for example, I'll ask it, why do you think your changes are an improvement on what I did? And then 6, I really like using these chatbots for organizing events. So like writing speaker invitations or writing event blurbs or for note taking. It's very useful. I think Dimitri mentioned that like I use Fathom quite a lot to take notes of Zoom meetings, and it will generate an AI summary. And then the next use case is producing visuals like Calby demonstrated. I use Midjourney. My husband and I use Midjourney to create a really beautiful children's book for our son. You can use DALL-E, you can use Canva and all these other tools as well. And then last but not least, this list is by no means exhaustive. You can use ChatGPT to help you write your social media posts as well, including emojis, and that's a great way to communicate your impact. So just summarizing all of those 3 sections, 2 takeaways. 1 is do play around with the tools that are available. And then 2, I also highly recommend following top voices on LinkedIn or subscribing to AI newsletters so you can learn more about developments in AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizzie. And I think one of the things you alluded to is how quickly this technology is developing with ChatGPT adding features all the time. I think one of the latest features is GPT with Vision, where you can upload a photo of anything and it will sort of tell you or use the information in the photo and interpret it. And so it becomes sort of multimodal. There are all these sort of voice clone, video clone features, which are very eerie these days and realistic, and I think they will get better over the coming months and years. So if you've tried one tool and it seems like it's not quite there yet, check back in a few months and it might be quite a different experience. So that would be my suggestion. Turning now to Luis, you've heard the other speakers, and I wanted to get your perspective on this latest wave of tech and how you think about it and how you look at its potential impact.
Well, Dimitri, thank you very much. And let me thank Jose Antonio, and congratulations to Washington Arbitration Week. It's a pleasure to join you virtually, and hopefully next year it can be in person. I will tell you that this topic amazes me. Every time I participate in one of these conferences, I learn so much more. I participate in many global events and conferences with exhibitors, and the legal tech world is evolving at breakneck speeds that I'm truly amazed. I remember when I started back in 1996, we would keep files on paper. We had a system called the AS400, an IBM-based platform that, compared to what you see nowadays, it literally is the Stone Age. And I think exponentially, the evolution of everything is so much quicker now. We have, by necessity, really, because we administer over 500,000 cases a year domestically and 755 international cases across various business sectors. We have staff in different locations, different sectors, different divisions. So we have a fairly robust IT team, and we have developed a proprietary system for the administration of these caseloads, which today are just so helpful to us in our day-to-day tasks. I go in, I can see exactly where my cases are, what steps, what are needed, what's not in compliance with the rules, what are my priorities. And that is our internal platform, which links to two other platforms, the ones that our users use to now completely remotely and electronically manage their cases. They can upload their documents, they can process invoices, briefs, they can set permissions for viewing said documents. And now there's additional services that we provide, for example, when they're working on a hybrid hearings or not, they can still have permissions for the arbitrators with separate viewing privileges to edit documents in real time. And then, of course, there's the platform for the arbitrators, where they track all their cases, all their documents, and all of these three platforms are connected for complete electronic and digitized remote administration. And why I bring this up is a number of things. For us, the AI is a priority. We have our new president, Bridget Mary McCormick, who is a former Chief Justice of the Michigan State Supreme Court, is heavily committed to innovation. She did a great deal of that in modernizing the court system that she oversaw, and has brought her passion to the American Arbitration Association. We have actually an innovation team with a vice president that strictly focuses on this, with ideas collected internally, externally, with Go teams. We really have a culture of embracing innovation. And AI has been at the forefront of so many of the ideas that we are looking at and trying to wrap our arms around how we're going to incorporate it. We're certainly going to incorporate it in much of the administrative tasks, which only makes sense, as an additional set of eyes, if you will, reminders, making sure everything stays on track, alerting us to possibilities. But there's much more contemplated as well. We've actually set up an artificial intelligence lab comprised of various stakeholders that are literally, as I sit here today, exploring all the different options and ideas that they can work with our IT team and roll out to simplify the user's experience and options that they have before them. Obviously, things we have mentioned already is case preparation, and case preparation will be part of the services as well, because we obviously administer hearings and have much of the support capabilities that are needed. Translations are huge. We already are exploring how AI can help us in much more in real time and translate our web pages, our services in languages around the world. Kelby mentioned Jus Mundi. We, in full disclosure, I'm actually a member of Jus Mundi's mission committee that looks at their objectives, and we have a relationship that they can actually publish ICDR awards that have been redacted and comply with our guidelines. That is one of the issues and challenges that we've had to deal with too, because for all these initiatives to be successful, content and data is essential. And things like, for example, legal entities, Jus Mundi and others are looking at the value of predictive analytics and what law firms can do research on and perhaps look for a case that or a fact pattern that is similar to the case that they have before them, and wondering what the outcome would be or what other arbitrators have decided on. So under our international rules, we have the ability to publish awards that have either become public during the course of enforcement or where the parties have not objected to within 6 months after the award has been transmitted to them. Now, I will tell you that parties and confidentiality is still very important to them, because we do receive objections routinely, so much so that I've only been able to successfully have put on the Jus Mundi platform 6 international arbitration awards. And of course, we've had many more since the last revision where this language was included. But Jus Mundi is able to canvass many platforms, Pacer, for example, and obtain awards that have become public during the course of enforcement. And they have approaching, I believe, 1,000 AAA ICDR awards. Remember, we're talking about a pool of 500,000 each year. And so those do provide greater analytics, greater content. They do use the summary tool that was highlighted by Kelby. But I submit that they do not, they reflect awards, international awards, domestic awards that are going through a public enforcement proceeding, where the overwhelming majority, statistics vary year to year, but 80 to 85% of awards are complied with voluntarily. So I would submit that the data pool is challenging for effective predictive analytics, although I think it is getting much better. And that's why one of the things we have is this incredible amount of data from all those awards that were complied with voluntarily. But our domestic rules do not have the similar permissions or verbiage that our international rules have. So we're looking at how AI can pull out relevant educational passages that would still have value, structured with the right query. And we've all discussed the importance of what questions you ask AI to get the results that you desired. And that's always where fine-tuning is a necessity. But we think that that is a tool down the road for us, which will be certainly a value added of using our platforms and AI research requests for data simply from our awards and processes. We're also looking, we have an extensive library. For example, I am very lucky to head up our Young and International group. We have programs that we do each year. We have 60 recorded programs on our platform as we speak. We're looking at tools as the tool that was mentioned to make these searchable. We have a number of extensive library holdings again, looking at AI to how to structure and make these searchables or additional ideas. So as you can see, it's cutting across various sectors from marketing to award research. I think our main priority, which is consistent with our mission first, is to see what we can offer the user in terms of agility and options when they are within the arbitration process, but also other additional arbitration-related services like ODR. We certainly have experience and had designed platforms for certain caseloads in the past. We're now looking at incorporating AI as well in perhaps small dollar amount cases, in online dispute mechanisms where people submit joint offerings. So it's just a brave new world. It's, as I said, mind-boggling for me to see how quickly things are moving. I'll just leave you quickly with one last observation because I think it's important. I did compliment the work of the Silicon Valley on their guidelines for the use of the AI. We recently released guidance for our arbitrators on our particular perspective on the use of AI in international arbitrations. Some of the things that were in our guidelines were really, one of the things we're concerned with is maintaining confidentiality. As you all know, there's a great deal of information that comes through when you have these international arbitrations on briefs, submissions, expert reports, etc. We do operate globally. We have to be mindful of data privacy laws throughout the world. In fact, our rules require that the arbitrators at a preliminary hearing discuss issues like cybersecurity, data protection, and privacy. And so we do expect that it becomes part of the procedural order, how the parties will consider and comply with all these relevant issues, to be very careful about that. We also look at the idea of competence. We all know the issue of hallucinations and the well-published case of the attorney in New York and problems that can occur depending on which version you're using and how you're checking it. So that's important. Delegation of duty, it was huge for us when we came up with this guidance for arbitrators. We could debate whether using AI as a tool for consultation it constitutes a delegation of duty or not, but we do warn the arbitrators that they cannot delegate the duty that was assigned to them, and they do sign our AAA ABA Code of Ethics, and that is one of the requirements. And I think fairness is another one of the concerns we wanted to deal with, because if they're using AI and they're involved in an arbitration and they come across some important concepts highlighted to them by the AI platforms that perhaps the parties have not brought up in the hearing, have not briefed it, etc. What is the arbitrator to do? And our guidance is to remember that you should put the parties on notice if there's an issue of law that you think is important for you to have discussed. Well, have the parties put on notice and have them brief it for you so no one is blindsided. So those are like the main points that we dealt with. But this is also a tool that we think will be expanding because, if we do this conference next year, we're going to come up with 5 or 6 different usages and issues that are just not foreseeable. So it's what we know now, and the danger is what we don't know, but clearly here to stay. Clearly, I think it's a value added for this field, for the legal field. We call it a disruption, if you will, but humans have always had the ability to adapt to these and improve. And I think in the long run, it is going to be a very helpful tool for all of us to use in our various components of international domestic arbitrations.
Thank you, Luis. This was really fascinating and comprehensive perspective. I hope that we have time for some questions from the audience. I think we got a bit of a late start. So if there are questions, I I think people can put them in the chat if they're online. And then if there are questions in the audience, perhaps someone else can mediate calling on folks, because I unfortunately cannot see the live audience.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Atul Luthra. I'm a partner with the India practice of PwC. I co-lead the technology functions and assist clients in some of the legal tech as well. So we understand that technology is kind of easing a lot of issues, but it also has powers to create more disputes than ever. So as practitioners, in your view, what kind of things are we getting into from a technology standpoint, which may create further different set of disputes, using too much of technology in them?
Does anyone particularly want to tackle that one? Raise a hand if you do. Lizzie?
Yeah, I have a quick thought, which is Dimitri and I serve on the Silicon Valley Arbitration Mediation Center guidelines. We're using AI, and one of the most thorny issues that we've come across is the issue of disclosure. So I anticipate that we might see more like satellite arbitration, or at least, disputes between parties and cases about what should be disclosed, if anything, and if so, well, if there should be disclosure in the first place, and if so, what that disclosure should be. And based on the public consultation and the comments we've received so far, there really is no consensus on that, like whether parties should proactively disclose their use, or maybe experts should, or when it is appropriate for the tribunal to step in, and if so, what factors they should apply. So I see disclosure as a hotspot for disputes.
Yeah, agreed. And I would also mention the question of authenticity of evidence, and the fact that it is now so much easier to fake evidence, or you often cannot trust your eyes anymore as to what is real and what is not, both in terms of documents, video, audio. So I imagine there will be more disputes about, challenging authenticity of certain documents, and perhaps, changing the baseline of what we assume, is or is not genuine, as well as, just the use of AI generated content, starting from presentations to, submissions to, maybe AI generated video or and photos and things like that. I'm sure that will give rise to a lot of issues.
So my question for you is that a lot of firms, hi, I'm Stacy from Kroll and Mooring. A lot of firms may actually prohibit third-party AI software. So a lot of these softwares look amazing, but I'm sure some of them are still wary of them, and as I said, may even prohibit them. What can these third-party software vendors, what can we do as practitioners to assure both firm management and our clients that, one, their data is safe, and two, the results can be trusted?
So let me take my moderator's privilege here to answer first, because that's exactly what I've been spending the last year focusing on. So it is true that, of course, third-party tools entail risks. Many law firms have now adopted the Microsoft Azure version of ChatGPT, which is more private and more focused on business audiences, and they don't, save your outputs, and they have other privacy guarantees, which I guess some law firms consider sufficient with sufficient client consent. So that may be a solution, a private cloud solution. And then there are also self-hosted solutions. So there are ways in which, if the law firm is willing to invest a little bit in IT infrastructure and a little bit in the personnel expertise, you can these days actually host your own AI models. You can fine-tune them. You can with your documents, and then they will be yours. They will be only available to you on your premises or your data center, and that is a direction that I think many are exploring now as well. So I think the future actually we'll see both of these routes being taken, and of course clients getting much more comfortable with the technology over time, hopefully.
Dimitri, I'm going to chime in a little bit. I think that this area, I think has been pretty frustrating for me, because I've been in client cases where we were not allowed to scan them because a partner did not trust that technology.
Toby, can you be a little closer to the microphone?
Sorry. Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. I didn't have the microphone on. I've been on cases where we did not allow things to be on the cloud. And this was like probably 10 years ago. Every firm was against the cloud. No Dropbox, no iManage on the cloud. And now it's just like, it's a given. It really is going to take a lot of effort. And I think they have, we consistently go back and forth between security, privacy, and convenience. During the pandemic, a lot of us were able to get on Zoom and connect and share our screen. And then when we got back into the office, it didn't work the same way because the conference rooms weren't built that way. And I think in the future, what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot of the bigger firms who don't want to invest in that technology. It's going to level up. You're going to have these smaller firms who are going to be able to catch up using AI, and the ones that didn't are going to be left behind. Even today, I like in every presentation, I try to remind people that a lot of our writing is still based on the typewriter, how we type, the subscript, superscript, all the way they are formed is basically so that you could type on a typewriter. And we haven't changed that. Our briefs aren't interactive and they don't take advantage of the technology, but somebody will. And for some of these firms that don't want to use the technology, that's fine with them, but somebody's going to. Somebody's going to use the technology. They're going to learn from it and figure out how can we use that. It might not be, again, a one-stop where it creates an entire brief for you, but wouldn't it be great if I could write all of my notes and it would find all the exhibits that I need for me? Wouldn't that help me save some time? So they're going to figure out where they can use it, where they can't, but there's always going to be someone who's going to be crying about cybersecurity and privacy and where the documents are because of who their clients might be. So I think that that's going to change a lot in probably a couple of years where we go. But again, a couple of years ago, nobody wanted to be on the cloud, and now everybody is.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
Yes, we have one. We have two more questions. And can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Ozzy from PWM Partners Law Firm, a law firm from Guangzhou, China. And I have a question to Catalina. As you mentioned that you will get the content from your clients before you apply the AI powers. I got a very basic question is that what's the format or how do you get the content of the consent regarding that, especially after Calbi share a lot of AI tools, where you specify the details, the scope of the AI power you applied. And my second question is that for those clients have already full aware of that you using the AI powers, which make your job more efficient and productive, will it bring the new challenges for you to billing your working hours to them? Thanks.
Thank you for the question. So we are still in a trial stage with the use of ChatGPT. Not everyone at the firm is using it. CaseText is available for everyone, but it's mostly for legal research now, until now. But with ChatGPT, so first to have access to the tool, you have to complete a training. And the training includes all the ethics around the use of AI in the legal field. And in order to have the consent of the client, if it is a current client, I haven't been in the position to do it. I think the requirement is the consent is specific in writing, but for new clients, there is a specific clause about the use of AI that you can include in the engagement letter. And regarding the billable hours, well, that hasn't happened yet, but I see that coming too. And yeah, it will probably change, but this is my personal opinion. So now with more junior lawyers, it takes a longer time to conduct, for example, legal research or have a first draft for a brief. With AI tools, if they are well used, you can have a similar result in less time, because the tool is not replacing the lawyer, it's just an instrument. But so as I said now, the client is sometimes bearing the cost of the training that junior lawyer is receiving. And now I think that's with the AI, that's the cost that the firms are going to assume, the cost of training the lawyers and in the use of those tools and for their development as professionals.
Okay, so just I will. This is Jose Antonio Rivas, Dimitri. Just one very quick question, and if any of you, especially Lizzie, could try to answer it. And with AI and all the tools that exist, do you think that that the divide between big law firms and boutique law firms will get bigger, or do you think AI could be utilized as an equalizer, considering that for some of these firm-specific tools, as Dimitri said, there might be a need for significant investment. So, or think about it in terms of the solo practitioner, etc. What's your sort of prediction, if you will?
Lizzie,
I can have
first?
a quick go. Yeah, I've thought about this as well in the context of our guidelines and, the equality of arms question. I don't think it's a new one because, some law firms have access to database, like, to e-hosting platforms and things like that, and others don't. I do think it is a likely issue because, like some law firms have developed their own AI tools, etc. But I also think that the development of AI is such that there's a lot that you can do as an individual as well. Like, any of us can buy a subscription to ChatGPT and create our own chatbots now. Like, sure, we might not have in place, particular arrangements with clients that allow us to use confidential information, but I think that doesn't mean that you can't still use it in a very productive way. I have no solutions to the problem, but I do think it is one that exists. But whether it's necessarily drawn along the lines of big law firms versus small law firms versus solo practitioners, I'm not sure. I think a lot of it will depend on how nimble the particular practitioners are, because you could have small law firms that are very nimble or sole practitioners who are as well. But I think one of the issues will come down to cost as well. How much will it cost for like a solo practitioner to get access to subscriptions and things like that?
Yes, I agree with that, and it's something that I have also been thinking a lot about in terms of does it really democratize things or make it a more exclusive club? And I think it is like Lizzie said. I think it really depends on whether you as a small practitioner or a large law firm are nimble enough to figure out what solutions you should adopt. Probably there are many ways you can jump into it, into using AI tools quite cheaply. But then if you want to deploy it in sort of a comprehensive way and integrate it into your workflow and use your data, it takes more time, but it's still, I mean, it's not that costly of a technology. There's some ways to do it that are more expensive than others. I think what large law firms will eventually have as an advantage is they have this huge database of materials, of data, underlying data that they could train their own models on and have maybe a competitive advantage. But I think we're quite a long ways away from that. I think at this point, everybody's really using the same tools, the same technology, the same AI models. So I do think in the short term, certainly it's democratizing.
I would just add to your last comment, I really do think that what will be the leverage or the people that have the significant advantage are those with access to the data. These AI tools are so dependent on the data. And if particular large firms has that many more cases, that much more information they can feed into the AI machinery, if you will. And I think you also have to combine it with a commitment of financial resources and dedication as part of your business plan and focus. You will certainly have a leg up. I'm not saying that a small firm could not compete. They could obviously carve out specific sections, specific expertise, as many boutique firms do now, and be competitive. But like with any arms race, money, time, dedication, and focus. But if you've got the raw materials that make the engine run, I think you're going to have an advantage.
Thank you, Luis. And I understand we're out of time. So thank you very much to everyone, to the panelists for speaking, and to the audience for the wonderful questions. Thank you very much.